the water beads.
The moment of truth for Cerakote's Professional Ceramic Coating version 2. So in this video, we're going to do a 9-month update on this daily driven Tesla in which we applied Cerakote's Professional Ceramic Coating version 2. So by the end of the video, we want to find out, is this coating really a professional ceramic coating worth your money and time? And did it fix the problems that it had in its first version? So this car is a daily driven vehicle which sits outside all the time. So this is a real world testing in a real driven car. So it's not like a test panel, which will give us a more accurate answer to whether or not this coating lasts and is worth a try. So these are the products we're going to use for this update. So in this foam cannon, I have Koch Chemie's Reactivation Shampoo, which is an acidic shampoo. It's a pH of 1, and it's supposed to basically help unclog or just bring coatings back to its optimal performance. And for our contact wash, we're going to use Carpro descale. This is also a very good acidic shampoo for ceramic coatings. And then we're going to follow it up using an iron remover and then a water spot remover or a mineral deposit remover. And after using all this, we're gonna find out if we also need to use a synthetic clay bar and basically just gauge how the coating is performing after the 9 months. As I mentioned, we're gonna start by pre-foaming the vehicle. And again, we have the acidic shampoo here in our foam cannon. And stay tuned for the video on MJJC's Pro version 3. And while you shouldn't get it, I have a video coming about this. But it produces great foam, at least at that it does well. So we're gonna start. And basically we're gonna let the foam dwell for a couple minutes. We're gonna come back and we're gonna rinse it off. Okay, so after letting the foam dwell for a couple minutes, I'm gonna rinse it off. Okay, so the first impressions after just doing a pre-foam is in most areas I can still see the coating performing really well. I'm gonna zoom you in, hopefully you can catch it. So as you can see, the water beading and water sheeting is still there, still working. And this is without even doing any decontamination, even our contact wash. So I'm very hopeful for this coating so far. So now we're gonna continue with our contact wash. So again, we're gonna use Carpro descale. This is what we're using for our contact wash, which is an acidic shampoo. It's supposed to break down minerals, and it's a very powerful soap, which is the perfect thing. So if you were to wash your vehicle every week with a regular pH neutral soap, you might not need this. But since this vehicle hasn't been washed in about a month or a little bit over, and it's been probably like 3 months, 4 months since our last update and decontamination, you do want to do something like this about every 3 months, because environmental pollutants get bonded to the paint. And basically, you got things falling from the sky, and you also got brake dust landing on your vehicle. And here with the morning dew, because we're close to the beach, the morning dew, and then the sun comes out and it basically evaporates the water from the morning dew that encapsulated the brake dust, and that's how you start getting bonded contaminants on the paint. And you can actually feel them as you're washing the vehicle. Right now, I can actually feel some of those. That's why we're gonna need to also use our iron remover and our water spot remover. Okay, so after doing our contact wash, I can say the coating is still doing really well in most areas. However, there are some areas where you can notice breaking down of the coating, which is a natural process of the coating. We have to remember that coatings are sacrificial layers of protection. So they're supposed to be used as sacrifice, right? So instead of your clear coat or your paint being damaged directly, the coating is gonna take those damages over time. And so it's natural for us to see the coating not perform the same after, 9 months versus when it first started. But then again, we haven't done our decontamination step. So this may just be a little bit of clogging of some embedded contaminants, and which is why we're gonna do our decontamination with an iron remover, a mineral deposit or water spot remover, and the synthetic clay bar. So we're gonna do a test in the glass. And as you can see in the glass, it's still really good when it comes to the water repellency, the water beading and the water sheeting again. It repels it right away. And that's most of the car as well. Okay guys, so for this test, I decided that I'm going to use the synthetic clay bar first and not the iron remover. And the reason is because the iron remover has very nasty, strong smell, and it's gonna stink up the whole garage, and I'm gonna be smelling it on my clothes the whole time. So I want to leave that for the end, for this testing. Now you may do your own testing and you may do it differently. For this test, we're gonna use the synthetic clay bar first, and then the water spot remover, and the iron remover last. So follow us along. Okay, so now we're gonna follow it up with our water spot or our mineral deposit remover. And you may ask yourself, now, why would I wanna use this? Basically, there's a couple scenarios where you get minerals on your vehicle. And the most common ones is, number one, if you park next to a sprinkler, the water from the sprinkler has a lot of minerals. So if it gets on your car, those minerals are gonna bond to your car, and that's where the mineral deposit or the water spot remover will come in handy. Or for example, if you drive through a puddle of water where someone used tap water. So let's say someone was washing the vehicle and it became a puddle, there was a puddle and you drove through a puddle of water, and that water is tap water. Tap water also has a lot of minerals. So if it gets on your vehicle and then evaporates, those minerals are now transferred onto your paint. So they may not be so visual. You may not be able to notice them right away, especially on a white car, but they are there. And that's why this will be really beneficial. There's been so many circumstances where a lot of people were under the impression, like for example, here we're gonna find out, but there's a lot of people that think their coating is dead or it didn't work or it died. But what's really happening is it's clogged up with all those minerals from water that had minerals. So that's where this comes in handy and why you would definitely want to do it whenever you do a decontamination or a ceramic coating maintenance. So basically I'm just going to spray it all over the car. I'm going to rub it in with a microfiber towel, and then I'm going to rinse it off and see the results. Okay, so for the last step, we're gonna use the iron remover. Now, I have it in the DIY detail bottle, but I ran out. So I have another iron remover, but any iron remover, any good iron remover would work. And for this test, I'm gonna mask up, so you might not hear me as well. But basically, we're gonna apply it, we're gonna let it dwell, and we're gonna, for about 3 minutes, and then we're gonna rinse it off, and I'm gonna show you the final results and let you know my final thoughts and conclusion. Okay, so I want to take you in and show you the results after using the iron remover. There wasn't a lot of reaction because there wasn't a lot of bonded contaminants left. And that's simply because we already used the synthetic clay bar and the mineral deposit remover. So I'm going to show you that only in a few areas a little bit of reaction happened. Basically, there's only a little bit
a tiny bit left of bonded contaminants. So you can kind of see just a little bit here and there, like right there. You have some spots where there's a little bit left of the bonded contaminants, but not much. You know, we really sprayed the car very liberally. We did not hold back on trying to save the product, just to show you how much there was left. And as you can tell, there's not much left. I was expecting more here in the trunk, but we don't have that much. Just a tiny bit here and there. You can see here. But overall, most of the bonded contaminants came off with the synthetic clay bar. Okay, so now we're going to rinse off the iron remover, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts and the conclusion.
Okay, so now I want to show you the final results after the decontamination and the wash. So as you can see, the coating is a little bit slower than when we first applied, but it's still working fine. It's still doing great. So the water's still repelling, as you can see. It's still beating off, and then it's still sheeting off, I should say, and then beating off. You can see here in this area, it works fantastic, almost when we first applied it. Look at that, right away. And in general, this area, it's a little bit slower. It's a little bit more of a sheeting, but as you can see, give it time and it repels the water just fine. We're gonna see here in this panel. See, it works perfectly fine. Let's do this lower part here. Works perfectly fine. In this one, it is a little bit slower than when we first applied, but it is to be expected. These lower panels kind of get the most beating, but it's still working fast. Look at that. It's not something that I would necessarily be concerned. We do the glass here. And as you can see, it sheets off and beads off right away, instantly. You can see the glass. Same thing. This panel here. No problem. The driver. Let's look at this lower rocker panel here. This one, it is a little bit slower, as you can tell. But it's still doing its job. So compared to here, you can see that the water beads off almost instantly, pretty much instantly. Versus here, it sheets off and then beads off. So it is slower in this area here. In a way, again, it's to be expected. Any coating, these lower rocker panels, that's where all the traffic film and everything from the wheels kind of splashing here. So heavy, thick films of traffic film and the minerals and, you know, all the water from the sewer and stuff like that. So here it gets a lot of beating here. So that's why it's a little bit slower, but it's still doing its job, like I said. It's not like the coating is not working or it's not there. It has taken a little bit of a degradation, a little bit of a beating. Here, the windshield is doing fine, as you can tell. The hood is doing fine. It's perfect. So here in the hood, one more time. So you can see, it sheets off and then beads off. So, and then lastly, I didn't show this part that much. Lighting is not so good here, but here it's doing great. Excellent. Look at that. Look at those water beads. So here it's doing great job. Okay, so what are my final thoughts on Cerakote's Professional Ceramic Coating version 2? So this is after 9 months of real world, daily driven, parked outside vehicle. So what can we conclude from what we've seen in this vehicle? Well, the coating has performed great. It's still doing very awesome in pretty much most of the car. There are some areas, however, that have downgraded a little bit when it comes to the water beading. It's not working as it was when we first applied it. So it still has a good amount of water beading, but it has a little bit more of water sheeting. But that doesn't mean the coating is not there. It's still performing great. So although we did see some areas where the coating degraded a little bit, it kind of took a beating, overall the coating is still working fine. Now, this happens to any coating, and especially in the areas that get the most traffic film or bonded contaminants. So, for example, the lower rocker panels, those are usual areas where coatings start to break down. It's just because of the accumulation of traffic film and bonded contaminants. But if you do a regular maintenance every week to every 2 weeks with a regular shampoo and then a decontamination maintenance service like the one we did today, about every 3 to 4 months, your coating in your vehicle should be in great shape. Now, in this case, the reason why I like this test is because this car doesn't get washed as much as it should, right? So it's like for most people, they get busy with life and they might not have the chance to maintain their vehicle as much as they want to. So that's why this testing is great because, as I mentioned, this car hadn't been washed in roughly 2 months. And here in Southern California, we did get rain, we get a lot of sun damage, and we get salt from the beaches. So, with all those variables taken into consideration, I would say this is a coating that I do recommend, especially now that we have a kind of a longer term durability test, right? So this is 9 months, and this coating, it's well on its path to surpass the 1 year mark easily. So in 3 months, the coating will still be there. We didn't see any noticeable sign to let us know that the coating won't be working in a year. Does that mean it's the best coating in the world? Definitely, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying it is for the price. This is in their website, $100 for two 30 milliliter vials, which will be able to coat two regular vehicles like this one, or one very large truck or SUV. Right now, actually, it's on sale for $60. So let's say if you bought it for $60, I think it's a no-brainer. The slickness is great, the gloss is great, the durability is great, the ease of application, amazing. So overall, this is a product I would recommend, and I think it's doing great. So we'll be able to give a more accurate time of how much it actually lasts, as time goes by. But as of right now, we're definitely going to see a year at least of durability from this coating. So even if it just lasted a year for $60 for 2 bottles, I think is a great deal. So let's say even in some areas where the coating was degrading and you want it to be 100% again, you could just use your other bottle and reapply the coating and it'll be back to perfect. You don't need to, but if you wanted to, that's an option. And for the price, like I mentioned, $60, even if you paid $100, I still think it's worth it because you're getting 2 bottles, right? And most coatings for that price, you're getting only one. So all in all, I think it is a good coating that I would recommend. And if you're interested, you can check it out. I will have it linked on my description as well and all the products that we use. But as you can see, as long as you maintain your vehicle, I think most coatings will do a good job. So the maintenance is always key. Now, something that I wanted to mention is that we have not used any topper, so any wax or sealant on this vehicle to help aid the ceramic coating. So we strictly have only used rinseless wash to dry the vehicle. So we haven't used any wax, sealant, or any topper of any kind. And I think that's very important when doing a durability test or a real world test. You shouldn't use a topper because then you're kind of masking the real performance of the coating, because we may be able to see great hydrophobics, but it might just be the sealant or the topper that you put on it. So you have to leave it without any topper, which is what we've done in this case. We only applied the coating and we haven't done anything to it. And again, we haven't washed it as much as we should. So with that being said, Cerakote Professional Ceramic Coating version 2 compared to its version 1, in which we saw some circumstances where the coating would kind of die after using a strong chemical. This one is totally different and it doesn't have those problems, and it's been performing great so far. So I hope this video was helpful for you. This is in response to one of my subscribers. He asked me to do a review video. So I hope this helped you out. Please subscribe to the channel. Drop any question that you may have in the comment section, and all the products you saw in this video, I will also have them linked. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.